well-respected ESPN journalist, as it said, it is true, and that Canelo will now be looking at Jaime Munguia and Edgar Berlanga for his next 2 fights in May and September. What do you make of this latest round of Canelo Agogo, Eamon?
Truthfully, and if it is the truth and it is the case, we're still waiting for something official there. We've got these reports from reporters and others, like Sir Rick Glazer. Not quite sure what to call him there, but I guess source, I'd call him under this.
He's been called worse.
It's for me. Oh, can you hear me? Can you see me?
Yeah, you're still there. You're still there.
Cool. No worries. But yeah, for me, it's a calamity, really. It's a disaster for PBC to not secure Canelo after they've lost broadcasts, after they've moved to Amazon, and now it seems like a lot of fighters are in flux as to what their future is. And it's a sign of times, I guess, really, as to how much is coming in with the Amazon deal. I imagine Amazon aren't as sure as to how much they want to put in. It's not boxing isn't a leading sport. When it's at its best, it certainly is. But when it's not, and Canelo is the best, or one of the best, which is, and again, another sign of the times, I guess. But when it's at its best, it's a great sport. But when it's not, it doesn't drive as much as other sports would, like in the UK, football, or in America, NFL, or whatever it would be, basketball as such. So I don't think the money is, or must not be, enough to the likes of Canelo to have these deals to fight fights or fighters in which people don't have as much interest they do for other fights. And for them to be in that position to have to let him go, for me, it's a real shame, really. You would have thought the likes of Al Heyman, who work kind of in the background, aren't always in the forefront, would have things in place or have B plans to try and secure these big named level athletes in the sport to something. But to be letting go Canelo, to be letting go what it seems to be as well Crawford, real big hits to that stable, real big hits to that side of the pond, and real big boons for whoever picks them up. Now it's believed that Eddie Hearn will be picking up Canelo Alvarez for fights with Edgar Berlanga and Jaime Munguia. One of those fights I'm truly, really interested in. The other, not so much in Berlanga right now. Berlanga hasn't really proved to be that big name player as of yet. He's a guy coming on the up, has a big following in Puerto Rico. I've seen him in the flesh, decent enough fighter at a level, but I haven't seen him in the flesh against a really good fighter. That remains to be seen. But Jaime Munguia, one that's been talked about for a while. Jaime Munguia is all-action fighter, and Canelo is one of those who, as well, would meet fire with fire to do. And that stands to be an interesting Cinco de Mayo type fight. Whether it'll be this time round, I'm not sure. But in the future, if Eddie was able to land that fight, I think it'd be big bucks.
Larry Liston says Heyman couldn't secure the 35 mil in escrow for the Jamal Charlo fight. So Canelo was free to live. I think he means leave. I like the Munguia fight, fun, offensive fighter. DB Cooper 1, comforting embrace of Hearn. Is that a reference to the hugging picture on Hearn's Insta? Looks very cozy, I must say. Canelo's a disgrace, in my opinion. Back end of his career is dull as fuck. Leon the Canteen, PBC can't afford his basic rate. If he's not fighting Benavidez, there's no need to be on PBC. Larry Liston, Berlanga needs at least one more opponent before he's ready. Someone in the top 10. He had a good performance last time, but to be fair, Paddy wasn't elite. Yeah, I think that's fair. Rick Glazer and Sauces, best joke of the night, take a bow. Leon the Canteen, I really don't want to see the Berlanga fight. Dreadful. Munguia is a good watch. Leon the Canteen, word around the campfire is Amazon are not putting up anything. They're just providing the platform. That's another Rick Glazer take. Larry Liston, doesn't look good for the PBC now. Not many stars left there and only 2 shows scheduled so far. I think they've got 2 to 3 years left, to be fair. Yeah, I wasn't enamored by the opening salvo of the PBC Amazon deal. The fact that it's on pay-per-view, it's not widely available, and it's not even a great show. It's a good show, but it's not a great show, and it's still stuck on pay-per-view. It's not really, I think when we saw PBC move into Amazon, the best case scenario was that this would open up boxing generally to a much wider audience. And it doesn't look like that's how it's going to be treated, unfortunately. I hope WWE has better luck when it moves over to Netflix with Monday Night Raw. But that aside, Yeah, I think the Munguia fight's decent for me. I'm quite interested in that. He's young, he's unbeaten, he's looked pretty good since moving up to middleweight and now super middle, of course. Yeah, I've got no problem with that. Perfect kind of Cinco de Mayo clash between fellow Mexicans. Berlanga, I agree. I think he needs at least one more big win to really earn the Canelo fight. But then if it's not him for September, who will it be? You know, it's probably not going to be Terence Crawford now if he's no longer with, if Canelo is no longer with PBC, although there's nothing really stopping Crawford working with Hearn and DAZN, I suppose. Who else could it be? I would like to see for September, if it's not too soon, and it may seem too obvious or too dangerous, but the winner of Bivol Beterbiev at the start of June. Whoever comes through that, Canelo should move up again to light heavyweight and either try and avenge his defeat to Bivol if Bivol comes through, or try and beat the fearsome Beterbiev if he doesn't. You know, fighters, I know Canelo's a massive commercial attraction. He doesn't need to take those risks, but his legend, his legacy will be defined by the risks he takes. And not giving fighters, 8 weeks notice having just fought to get ready for the fight like he did with Kovalev, or fighting fighters at the back end of their careers, or fighting fighters early on in their careers, maybe too early in some cases. It's going to be by taking risks and then overcoming the challenges. And he took a risk against Bivol. It didn't work out for him, but I don't think that means the whole strategy is wrong. It doesn't seem to have harmed him as a commercial entity taking that defeat. So I'd like to see him fight the winner of Beterbiev Bivol, especially if he comes through against Munguia in May with, not too much stress on his body and, not too much damage. Why not? Because they're going to smash lumps out of each other in June. So whoever comes through that is not going to be in amazing shape. But June to early September? That's 3 months. I mean, it's tight, but it's not impossible, especially if, Turkey Al Sheikh wants to put up even more money in Riyadh and get Canelo over there. I think it could happen. But it's certainly what I'd like to see. Eamon, if it's not going to be Berlanga for the second fight in this supposed deal, who would you like to see Canelo take on? Eamon, are you there? I cannot hear Eamon.
Can you hear me now?
Oh, now I can.
There you go. Sorry, my gremlins. Yeah, it's a very interesting situation, because if it's going to be Hyman Gear, doesn't Canelo have to rekindle his fractured relationship with Golden Boy? Now, I guess he'll have to do that with Eddie Hearn, who has his own bit of back and forth, although Oscar De La Hoya and Eddie Hearn have seemed to unite a little bit, as is the United Front with boxing promoters right now in the spirit of that. So maybe that's less of a roadblock than it did appear to once be. But
the fact they're both on DAZN as well obviously helps, doesn't it?
For sure. But there will still have to be those rekindling of talks between Canelo in some form with Oscar De La Hoya and Golden Boy. If it's not Benavidez, which maybe that seems now more likely with what's happening with the PBC as well too. Look, Berlanga, Munguia, maybe Bivol again up at the higher weights. Maybe Canelo looks to go up at the higher weights. Maybe goes into Eddie was talking about new signings coming to Matchroom, wasn't he? Is Canelo this new signing? Will he feature in the 5v5 at light heavyweight against an Anthony Yarde? I remember that the winner of Yarde and Kovalev was due to fight Canelo Alvarez, and that ended up to be Sergey Kovalev. So could that be rekindled again in the future? I'm not too sure. There is an outside fight I want to suggest as well too, and that is he's not returning to the UFC for the meantime, at least anyway. And Conor McGregor has dipped over into boxing beforehand against Floyd Mayweather. He's at super middleweight. That's the weight he fights at now. And that's a fight in which he's interested in fighting in. I doubt Canelo wouldn't show interest in that fight either, as it's what he would imagine to be an easy payday and brings a big side to the equation too. So I wouldn't rule out Conor McGregor later on the gloves for a big event in Saudi Arabia against Canelo Alvarez either.